When they're putting it, we can still chant Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So today, I want to speak about the living power of the holy name, and actually just share, since it's been a while since I've spoken, and a lot of people that I haven't met before, just share a little bit about my time traveling and serving the holy name. So, to start off, I would like for you all to, alright. I would like for you all to imagine a world of total silence. It's got the nice kirtan going. Imagine that there's no drums, no harmonium. You don't even have the ability to speak. There's no sound. And I have a question. In that silence, could you still experience the power of the holy name? And I ask this question because in the past, we have this Columbus Krishna house. In Louisville, Kentucky, when I was a kid, there was a Krishna house as well. We had a very simple altar going time. And we were preaching, people were coming, and there was one man who would sit and tears in his eyes. Whenever there was kirtan, he would just sit with tears in his eyes, completely absorbed in the holy name. And I worked up the courage to ask him, sir, you can't hear, you can't speak. How is it?
Can we change the mic?
Yes.
That has a disturbance. Yeah.
Silence.
Just give me 2 minutes.
So, you can't hear, you can't speak. How is it you're getting so much from this holy name of Krishna? And so, a very interesting thing happened. He looked at me and he started touching the floor with his hand and touching his heart. And then the devotee who actually brought him to the temple could speak sign language. And she interpreted. I said, is he saying what I think he's saying? And his response was that when the chanting of the holy name was happening, when all the devotees were chanting, he could feel the vibration coming through the floor and entering into his heart. And that's how he was participating in the Harinam. And he recognized that the sound vibration wasn't ordinary. It was actually a spiritual sound, so it moved him to the point of tears. So, everyone loudly chant and see if you can feel the vibration. If not, it's okay, but try to experience it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what I realized in that time was that although he couldn't speak or hear, he was still moved. And the holy name is not a physical sound. And the scriptures tell us that repeatedly. It was none different than Krishna. It's not a material sound vibration. It's actually a spiritual sound that cleanses the heart. And so, even there's a verse, Kalir-dosa nidhira jan astahi eko mahan guna, kirtana eva krishnasya, mukta sangha param vrajat. And so, in this verse, in Srimad Bhagavatam, well, it's not from Bhagavatam, but we read it there. It is saying that, O king, although this Kali Yuga is full of so many faults, there's actually one good quality about this age, and that is simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. So, this leads to another story. Again, these are going to just be stories, memories that I had. I was in Potomac, Maryland, and at the time, I was traveling around the country just doing Harinam, chanting on the streets. And a little backstory is that we came upon a group of devotees who did book distribution. And we were like, let's go on Sankirtan. They're like, yeah, sure, let's go do books. We're like, wait, Sankirtan means chanting. And they're like, no, it means books. And so it was a debate, and we were like, it's both, right? You know, they were like, well, Prabhupada would be more happy with this. And so the debate went on for a while, and then we convinced them, hey, if we go out, if you come out with this, we promise that we would also do books, and you would also do chanting. And so they agreed, and we were very enthusiastic. We convinced these book distributors to come out and chant with us on the street. And that night, when you know it, we get to the streets, completely empty. The street lights were very bright, everything was lit up, and there's no people around. And so we were thinking, oh, well, you know, this is not an ideal situation, right? So we're chanting and we're going for about an hour or two. And at some point we thought, well, let's pack it up and go. Right? There's no one here. We've chanted. Yeah, I don't think they're coming out and harding on with us anymore. And as we were feeling a little bit defeated, there was a Swami with us, and he said, one more time around the block. And we're thinking, you know, we don't want to do one more time, but he was singing devotee, what can we say? So we surrendered. And because we surrendered, we went one more time around the block. And a craziness ensued, right? So there was a group, I don't remember, 4 or 5 guys. They showed up with their girlfriends. They were walking, wives, girlfriends, I don't know, walking to the mall. And they saw the kirtan party. They started getting into it, dancing. And the girls were like, okay, that was funny. Let's go. Let's go to the chant. And the guys were like, take our credit cards, just go shopping, we'll catch you later. And they got so enthusiastic about the chanting that the kirtan was going and going. And then suddenly people started driving down, you know, passing on the road. And these guys, I don't recommend we do this, but they jumped in the streets in front of the cars, and they stopped the cars, and they were like, you can't leave until you chant Hare Krishna. And so they were making people chant. And eventually got to the point that the whole block was just crowded, bumper to bumper traffic. People were blowing the horns, yeah, out the window, Hare Krishna, just like dancing enthusiastically. And the cops were like, hey, you guys gotta keep moving, making a traffic jam. But it was just the idea that, you know, these random people who Krishna obviously sent, they came because we persevered. We said, you know what, like, surrender, let's do one more time. And Krishna made all arrangements. And then through these so-called random people, hundreds of people actually got the holy name of Krishna. They were all chanting. So Krishna, he does say in the Gita that for devotees, when they engage in service, that he protects what they have and he preserves what they lack. Or, why do we always mess it up? Preserve what we have and gives us what we lack. So that is one thing, and then Krishna also says, those who are devoted to serving me, the love. So that's a thread for the past few months. We do Bhagavatam every day. I have a group that I'm with, and we've been speaking a lot about surrender. And this whole movement is about love, right? And the only way we can really love Krishna is through surrender. So Krishna is saying, those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the understanding which they can come to me. So who's been, show of hands, who's been to New Vrindavan? Most everyone? Okay, so by show of hands, who has been to the old cabin in New Vrindavan? A lot of people, okay? Cool. So there was once a time, and these stories aren't connected, but I just want to share it because it's interesting. I mean, were you with us when Rana Maharaj took us to the cabin? And then, I don't know, I opened my mouth and I was talking about snakes and this and that. So they was like, you go in and check for snakes. They're right over the doorway. There were 2 huge snakes, at least 2, might have been more, but 2 huge snakes right there. And so we all quietly went in, not to get attacked by the snakes, and took darshan. And well, there's no deities there, but you know, the altar's there. We were hearing about the history. Once, I believe it was the 24-hour kirtan, one of the first ones in New Vrindavan. It was some big festival, and I was with one devotee, Jamanagni, and his family, and one other devotee, and we went. And I said, hey, you guys want to see where Prabhupada first came to New Vrindavan? And so we hiked. It was a long walk. We went there. I think we came up to the woods, actually. And we got to the cabin, and we didn't have any instruments, and we were just stomping our feet, clapping our hands, and we doing kirtan. And we just got really into it, and to the point it was like afternoon, late at night. And we hear the kirtan over the mountains in Vrindavan. We're thinking, I don't know if we can make it back. It's, the shortcut is going down this valley, and we didn't know how that was, if we were gonna have to cross water. We didn't know, so we decided to spend the night there. So we just took kirtan until we passed out, and just fell asleep. We woke up the next day. We weren't eaten by snakes or anything like that, but it was just a realization at that point, because that's still one of the highlights for me, one of the best kirtans I've experienced, is that one, kirtan is not dependent on a big crowd, it's not dependent on instruments, who's a good singer or not a good singer. The holy name actually creates its own happiness, right? And it's independent of any kind of material comfort. So all we have to do is just surrender to it, and as it says in the Shishashtakam in the first verse, it says, "Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all dust accumulated for years, and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is a prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious." So this verse kind of defeats the argument that Sankirtan is kirtan. Just joking. So a little dehydrated. I won't say this devotee's name because many here actually know him. But I don't want to give too many details because I don't reveal who he is. But very nice devotee. But I remember in this temple, we used to do Harinam at least once a week, right? It was Thursday mornings. I don't know if it was every Saturday. I know we had a gallery hop, but it was at least once a week. And books were some kind of Sankirtan fun on every day, pretty much. And this one devotee, I asked, I said, "Prabhu, why don't you come on Harinam with us?" And he's like, "Yeah, if I get a mask, with those glasses and the nose, and the mustache, I'll go." And I'm like, "Really, dude?" So he was joking about it, like he wouldn't go out in public to chant. And then one day he just decided that he was going to be the most fired up kirtan devotee in the community. And so he was always taking us out on Harinam, and he was organizing, and he just something changed. But he became very enthusiastic about taking us out. And one evening, or it was a gallery hop, so it was a Saturday. Typically when we go out, we get a nice, good response, right? This night we went out. First he was concerned about where to park, and we had to park in a kind of a rough neighborhood. I was like, it's okay, just let's park here, we'll be fine. So we parked, we go out, and it's gallery hop. Everyone just ignored us. It was a bunch of, rich people. And they were like, "We want nothing to do with you, Hare Krishna. We're out here drinking and enjoying," right? One guy started chanting, and he was immediately, "Stop that, come." So we got no response. And so we said, okay, we're going back. As we get back, it's getting dark. We start chanting the Shringa prayers, and all of these scary people that they were so afraid of started chanting on the porch, and they came down, they were chanting. Kirtan went for another 2 hours, just in the neighborhood. And I was like, "See, Prabhu, you just can't judge like that, right?" But the reason I brought that up is because the change manifests in the heart simply by chanting the holy name. Even if doing jokingly, like I said, one guy was kind of into it, but he was intoxicated, so he was joking around a little bit. But it reminded me of Ajamil. So for those who don't know the story of Ajamil, I won't even tell the whole story. We'll hear that some other time, I'm sure. But Ajamil was a Brahmin who had become very fallen in his life. And at the time of death, he had a son named Narayan. So at the time of death, he was calling out for his son. And because he called out for his son, he was protected because his son was named Narayan after Krishna, right? But the Yamadutas, the agents of death, were coming to take him. And when he was calling out for his son in a very fearful state, the Vishnu Duktas came. And they protected and they ultimately saved him. So this mantra, even if we're not fully aware of what it is, what it means, it saves us. It purifies our heart. It opens, it reveals our love. So we may think we need to have a disguise. But ultimately, Krishna reveals everything. There is a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You notice I'm just adding a little verse to every story. Sorry. In Bhagavatam 6:14, Krishna says, or it is said that he who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately free from the reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants indirectly, or to indicate something else, or jokingly, for musical entertainment, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all learned scholars of the scriptures. Now, a little tangent. When I was traveling and doing this kirtan, we were hoping to get something. Everyone's familiar with the Maya portage, right? So they were little kids at the time. We were sharing with them. But we were thinking, let's take the show on the road, right? And just do Harinam, not just on the streets, but in theaters, different places. And it was frowned upon big time. But now we see that there's devotees like Achyuta, there's Maya Portis, there's Gauravani, there's Janvi Harrison, there's so many wonderful devotees out spreading the holy name. There's another devotee.
Radhika Das?
Radhika. Yes. And they're doing amazing kirtan, but there's still people who are critical of it. Like, hey, this is Maya, blah, blah, blah. The fact is, millions of people are chanting holy names, right? So unknowingly or unknowingly, they're getting purified. So this is an amazing service. And Yukta Vairagya means that you take whatever service and talent you have and just use it for Krishna. Right? So that's my little feel about that, right? We should always be finding ways to spread the holy name. Right? And so continuing with the Harinams. So in Dallas, we had a group that went out every week to do Harinams, and the award was afterwards as a pizza party. And and then the bigger reward is if you can eat pizza with jalapeno peppers. If you can eat that, then you get extra pizza. So some devotees just wanted the pizza party, like, no, you have to come on Harinam, right? So we going out. There was I just thought about the devotee who was actually leading that, but I don't want to misquote his name. But anyway, so we were going out, and one night in particular, it was torrential rain. It was just like we couldn't get to the car. Like, oh, it's time to go. Like the rain was coming so heavy, and we were like, should we cancel it? No, we want to go. It's like no one's going to be downtown anyway. So we decided, let's just run for the car. We ran for the car. The rain literally stopped for like 3 seconds to get to the car. Then it came down again. We got downtown. We found a parking spot, and we're like, now what? Then the rain stopped again. So we went out. We were chanting, and nobody's gonna be there. It's torrential rain, and like it's completely chaos. It's like Indra. I was thinking in my mind, I was still a kid at the time. Indra's trying to get us. So we get downtown, and as I said, I'm still a kid at the time, so I haven't led kirtan really, not like that in a public place. So it was like I had been playing Madanga, I've been practicing a little bit, and I was like, "Do you want to be Harinam?" I was like, "Oh, sure, I'll do it." And imagine it's dark, huge buildings, there's no one around, it's just us. I feel safe with my kirtan group. Okay, I'm chanting. Before I get through the whole Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, my voice is gone. I'm done. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Who's next? I was like, no, keep going. Just like, I can't. My voice is gone. Just keep going. Just go around the corner and then we'll trade. I said, okay. So I'm chanting. My voice is super high pitched. Get to the Hare Krishna mantra. Turn the corner. There's thousands of people there. I thought I was gonna die. Because I'm like really, introverted in a sense, and I was like, oh no, I can't, no, I quit. And like, just keep going. Instantly, Krishna sent like 300 people, they just surrounded us. This party was a huge block party, I guess it goes all the time, I had no idea what was going on. Devotees knew, obviously. And it was like 3 or 4 blocks long. But where we came from, these huge buildings, we didn't hear or see anything. And so like they just manifested in my mind, because I'm like, what's going on here? So Krishna sent like 300 people, they made this huge circle in the whole street, and they were all chanting, and just like they were clapping and dancing, and it was going on, and suddenly my voice got back. And it was just an amazing moment, seeing so many people dancing that and chanting that weren't, quote unquote Hare Krishnas. And then, the realization is that we try to serve Krishna reigns so the whole name could spread. Like, because it could have been that I just stopped chanting, it could have been that no one showed up in the rain, it could have been so many situations could have happened, but somehow them chanting along with me actually helped me to kind of come out of my shell a little bit, but still I was like, this is not gonna happen again, I don't want to, don't like the big crowds. But it did help me over time. And Krishna says in the Gita that, but for those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So it's not even about what we as individuals bring to the table, but that association, that sangha, they bring to the table. Like devotees can help us. That's why we have sangha, right? Because devotees will help push us to that point. So we should definitely try to stay in association with devotees. And I wasn't going to say this, but for those who are preachers or who would like to preach or just give a class even one-on-one with me, I do have a platform, and it's about 2,000 people right now, all different languages. So if you want to speak in your native tongue, feel free. I'm just recording classes, so that's a little plug. Like I said, I have a nice sized audience. It's all because of His Holiness. If it wasn't for him, I was fighting him every step of the way, but he made me do it. So there's a great preaching opportunity if anyone wants to take advantage, so to put that out there. What time is it? We go. Okay. So, who's going to do our Rath Yatra? I think for those who don't raise their hand, they're missing out. I haven't been in 20 years, so but you're missing out. And the Rath Yatra, it's great, but it was the Sunday feast that was the highlight. So imagine a huge crowd, so New York, Fifth Avenue, I don't even know how big that parade is. It's been going on forever. It's like devotees from all over the world come. And so imagine all of these devotees all packed inside the temple, and the kirtan is going. And there used to be a stage, and there'll be like 20 devotees, like senior devotees up on stage, just chanting, and everyone's all the best kirtan. People are there. His Grace Srila Pandit used to always tell me that the kirtan is the safest place to be. He always told me that. And in this particular kirtan, Rath Yatra, he was chanting, and we were all dancing. This is actually a famous video out there. I guess that particular Rath Yatra was extra special. I won't say I guess, I know it is, because devotees have told me some mystical things that they witnessed there. But I was to the point I was about to faint. And he was like, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm good. Just keep going. But the kirtan is the safest place because not only are all of the different demigods and everyone present with us, there's Krishna's protection. And our mind, if we absorb our mind in the kirtan, we're not thinking about all these other problems that we may have in life. I remember His Holiness Chandramali Swami said, whenever I get stuck with an issue that I can't find the answer, I just go in and chant japa or just get into kirtan, and miraculously the answer always shows up after that. So there's a verse which is actually the main point of what I want to speak today. Is Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Keva, Kalona Seva, Naseva, Naseva, Gata Anyata. So in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. So, what does that mean? There's no other, what deliverance are we speaking about? Earlier we spoke on a verse where it says that through the chanting of the holy name we can be delivered from material association, right? The mukti. So we're not necessarily looking for mukti or liberation as devotees, right? But we want to become free, we want to be delivered. What does that really mean? So it comes back to the whole idea of love and surrender. Krishna says, Sarvadharma Parityajam Mamekam. What he's saying in that verse is abandon all varieties of religion and simply surrender to me. So, is Hare Krishna a religion? No.
It's a movement.
It's a movement.
It's a movement, it's a dharma, it's a science. It can become a religion if we make it a religion. Or it can become the path of liberation. Or it can become so many things, however we interact with it. Krishna says, give up all of that. Simply surrender. So with this, Prabhupada said it's a dharma. What dharma means, a lot of people get different ideas of that. What dharma means is what is innate, what our innate position is. Like some of us grew up with kung fu, right? Or kung fu, the literal word is the same as dharma. It means the innate, right? It's a way of life, but it goes beyond that. So it's, if we simply surrender to Krishna and try to serve him as Arjuna did, as a friend, someone who's not envious, that love is awakened through the power of the holy name as well. And we go back home, back to Godhead. We don't simply engage in religious activities and seek liberation or whatever. If we engage in this process of bhakti yoga, then actually it's said that liberation is there with folded hands ready to serve us. Right? So devotees, we hear the stories, well, I'll go anywhere, do anything as long as I can remember you, Krishna. And we may say that prayer in mind, well, actually, I don't want to really go and do X, Y, and Z, right? That's not complete surrender. And 99.9% of us are on that platform, so there's no judgment. But if we are having this, as Swami Maharaj says, we should have no ulterior motives. And this is a quote from the scripture as well. We should have no ulterior motives. It's simply to serve Krishna. Because if we think, for those who have kids or someone that you really care about, you don't do certain things out of ulterior motive. You don't say, well, you shouldn't say it. I'll say that I have experience where people, or parents, are expecting something from the kid. But ideally, you are not pouring into your child with the intent that, yes, when I'm older, they're going to take care of me, they're going to buy me a nice house, they're going to do X, Y, and Z. That's not the whole point. The whole point is, I love you, so I'm going to serve you. So the same way, we can serve Krishna that way and realize that I am not the enjoyer, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, I am just a servant, then that becomes surrender. Otherwise, it's religion at best. And I'm just saying that just so that we can keep in mind and take note of how am I progressing in my spiritual life, right? Am I chanting for liberation? Am I chanting because I want some material gain? Or am I chanting to make Krishna happy? So that's what we want to get to. We want to understand how we serve the devotees. And I think, in one sense, that is the secret. is how we serve the devotees, because it's easier for us to serve the devotees than it is for us to directly approach Krishna. Like, even think about it. When you come to the deities, you don't have to say it out loud. But when you come and you look at the deities, how do you look at them? Right? How do you approach them? We're really supposed to start looking at their feet and work our way up. And some devotees know that and understand, yeah, I start at Krishna's feet and work my way up. It's deeper than that. We start at their feet, we meditate on their feet until we become realized on that platform. And then we go to the, so it might take years just looking at the feet. He's like, well, why do we dress the deities if we can only look at the feet? What are we really seeing though? I had a incident. I was with His Holiness Varshana Swami and one other devotee. And I had broke my foot and I was still doing service there on my crutches. The little brick road that's by the lake comes down to the temple. I built that on my hands and knees because I couldn't walk. But some devotees, when Maharaj said Gita class, so many people would show up, and then on occasion there would be a Gita class, but mostly it would be, okay, here's shovel, here's this, you know, so devotees stopped coming. But for those of us who stayed, Maharaj gave so much nectar, and the more we served, the more he would tell us stuff. And so back to his cabin, he's letting us see his deities, Hare Krishna deity, and we're like literally like this, like noses to the deity, like wow, they're so shiny, and we're like, Maharaj is so beautiful, and we're glorifying the deities, and we're just, you know, saying all the kinds of wonderful things that we thought, you know, were impressing Maharaj. And he says, did you see Radharani holding Krishna's flute? We looked at each other like, what's he talking about? We were like literally offensively close to the deities. We didn't see it. So we looked like, hey, how did that happen? And so then he revealed this whole pastime of how Navadvip was made. Radharani's playing Krishna's flute and she's running around and just gave us so much nectar. And so we realized that the more we serve, the more nectar he's given us, and the more he's literally opening our eyes to see things, right? But we may think that we're seeing the deities. We're not. We may think that we're chanting the holy name. We're not. But Krishna is so merciful that he gives us the cleansing of the heart, and he gives us realization gradually. If we can do that, going back to Prakrit Pandit's instruction, the kirtan is the safest place. Veda means knowledge. Vedanta is the end of the culmination of knowledge, right? Kirtan is kirtan. Sankirtan is the highest kirtan. So if we're with the association of devotees, and we're completely absorbed in the chanting, the hearing the chanting, that's the safest place to be in this material world. So let's practice really quickly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If we can just hold that in the heart, hold that vibration in the heart all the time. As Prabhupada said, if you're in a factory, every time you push a button, you chant Hare Krishna, there's no excuses. Then that will carry us in this life and the next. So I guess I'll ask if there's any questions, comments. Yes, Ruth?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. You just know that every religion demands some level of surrender. Whether it's Islam, whether it's Christianity, and also now we're talking about Krishna saying we surrender to him. What does surrender entails, and are they the same thing? Because every religion demands some level of surrender, how to surrender to, and then most religions, if surrender, that means you have to follow the tenets of that religion. What does it entail to surrender to Krishna? And then if anybody surrenders in other faiths, is it the same?
So if they surrender in other faiths, and what does it entail to surrender? So in the Bhagavad Gita, thank you for the question. I'll try to answer it. In the Bhagavad Gita, I believe it's the 9th chapter, I could be wrong. The most confidential knowledge is hiding in the middle. And I'm on take being wrong if I'm wrong. Sorry, I'm not a scholar. But Krishna tells Arjuna that I'm revealing this science to you because you are my friend and you're not envious. Not envious. So the key point is to not be envious of God. And God is the supreme enjoyer. We are the enjoyed. Every moment that we think I'm going to enjoy, that's us essentially being envious of Krishna, right? Naturally, by serving Krishna, happiness comes, right? So, regardless of what religion one may practice, if they surrender to Krishna or they surrender to God with no alternative motives, they're not being envious, they're simply trying to love God for the sake of loving God, then they get the full benefit. The idea is the sadhana. So he said the different processes that we follow, the different tenets. We should understand that these tenets, these different sadhanas that we do, they are like the path that we're going on, and it helps us to move forward. Prabhupada, he says, the different, hearing, chanting, remembering, serving Krishna, he said we just take to one of those, right? There's all these processes, if we just take to one of them sincerely, then we get the benefit of everything. So, in the same way, if someone really does take to their particular path sincerely and they're following, then gradually Krishna's going to reveal himself. And the problem with religion is that, well, there's so many problems with religion. But we're looking, especially the leaders. If the leaders are thinking sense gratification, then the followers are going to think the same thing. And even if it's very strict renunciation, like what is the purpose of your very strict renunciation? If it's for sense gratification, then the same point. Surrender means something completely different. So all these processes going to our path, our bhakti yoga, all the different processes are meant to bring us to the level of surrender. So we can get certain realizations, and with the chanting, with the studying, with the association, we realize that Krishna is supreme and I'm eternal servant, and we surrender, we just give up everything. So I think the same goes for any true seeker, whatever path they're following. So a lot of times we see people get closed-minded. The more they get fixed in their particular religious path, and everything else is the devil, right? And it makes it hard because of a lot of conflict. But ultimately, when we start to realize that Krishna is supreme and we're all the servants of God, and we start to see everyone equally, that vision comes true. And it only comes through Hare Krishna, through study of the scriptures, right? Now, what if you don't have eyes? What if you can't hear? What if you can't? So that's why, in this age of Kali Yuga, the best prescribed method is chanting the holy names of God. Because no matter what obstacles seemingly are in the way, you can get this realization. And then another thing, I was going to ask someone today before class, but I never got to reach out. But it's saying that in this age of Kali Yuga, the one good quality is that we can get free through the chanting. The holy name of Hare Krishna has always been there. What's so different about this age of Kali Yuga? If it's supposed to be so bad, why is it suddenly the holy name is so good, so powerful? Like, anyone have any clue? Yes.
Possibly because Lord Chaitanya came.
Yes. Yes. So Lord Chaitanya came, and when Lord Chaitanya came, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna and the Buddha, Srimati Radharani. And she is not different than Krishna, but she is his pleasure, internal pleasure potency, right? Vadini Shakti. And when he came, he brought that mood of love, that complete surrender. And it is said that he made a garland of the holy name and he put it around everyone. So all we have to do is just surrender, take to the holy name, and then we will get what other yugas were not getting. We don't have to worry about liberation and this and that. We'll actually get love of God. So, bringing it back to the other religions, they all teach chanting the holy names of God. How much do they practice? That's a different question, right? So, what I have been sitting on for probably 20 years now, that I'm thinking about doing it, and I wanted to speak with the management about this, is get together with like an interfaith situation for different communities who do chant. So I work with some Muslims, and we're chanting together all the time, and just talking about it. And so I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? So they're very open. If we just go and have like anyway, we'll talk about it some other time. But essentially, my thoughts were to have a week or two where we just basically have a japa marathon, and we just get everyone to do that in the different religions, and then get together and just have a conversation about the holy name. So I hope that answers your question to some point. Is there any other questions or comments? Yes.
Prabhu, if it's okay, I've also had some experiences traveling in different places. If I can share some as well, unless Prabhu wants to go first.
Yes.
So once I was in New York with the Harinam distributing books, and one girl from Norway had come. New York is just a bunch of tourists. And she said, I saw this, I was interested, but my friends told me it was a cult. So I kept walking by, but then my friends left and I decided to come and see. And once I heard the chanting of the holy name, I realized this is not a cult, this is something serious, it's authentic and genuine.
Yes.
So that was one story. And then a few years ago I was in India, in Kolkata, on Vaisheshika Prabhu's youth yatra. And they always have kirtan while distributing books, and I primarily distribute books. It's my main service. And while the kirtan was going on, we saw one beggar, and I didn't even bother to approach her because they're not going to give anything. But something came up to me and said, why not just show her the book? So I showed her the book, and she said, like she looked at me and she said something in Hindi I didn't understand, but another devotee spoke Hindi, and she said she was so inspired by the kirtan that nobody does this, that she gave her whole collection to the temple for the whole day. And then this year on Youth Yatra in South India, Vaisheshika Prabhu took us to South India. 2 incidents. One, we went to Simhachalam on Christmas Day. And there everyone gets a day off, so the lines are like 8 hours long, so long.
I thought you said lions at first. Lions there. Don't worship your learning sugar day.
Yeah, the lines are like super long for the darshan, so we were doubting if we were going to get it, but we were like, okay, maybe we will. But we first spent like 2 hours, instead of waiting in line, we'll do 2 hours of Harinam in front of the gates of the temple. And so many people were inspired, and alongside we were doing book distribution, we collected 15,000 rupees in 2 hours of Lakshmi. Wow. And one of the devotees prayed to Lord Nrsimhadev. They say we're not going to get darshan, they say we're not going to get darshan. But when was the last time somebody showed up on your doorstep and did kirtan? Nobody does this, let us in. And then finally, on the same yatra, later on in South India, in Tamil Nadu, we had set up somewhere in one of the temples to do class. I think Raghav might remember this as well. And we were just in one of the rooms offside, but then while Vaisheshika was starting his introductory bhajan, this temple administrator came and started yelling at him in Tamil. Said, you can't be here, all these different things. He was just really, really angry. And we were like, no one's using this room, it's not being used all day, like why can't we use it? And they were just like, no, you can't use it. So then what we ended up doing is we ended up setting up in like a hallway of the temple. But what that allowed us to do is that when Vaisheshika Prabhu led Kirtan, all these other locals started joining in. And it actually caused a bigger hazard than we would if we just stayed in the room. There are, I think almost, 100 other devotees, or locals, not devotees, they joined into the Kirtan and were inside. So I was remembering that when we make the effort to perform Kirtan, Krishna will always make different arrangements to help us in our service, even if it's a little bit challenging.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, one point about the book, because we're sorry, I'm talking a lot. I know that some devotees have said that it's called Sankirtan because the books we distribute only tell people to chant Hare Krishna. So it's just an indirect form of kirtan.
Yes, yes. So it's definitely Sankirtan, and the point that we were making with that is that we have to do both. So like you said, the book distribution and the Harinam. So when I used to do Food for Life in Dallas, and it was like, well, we have to have the Holy Name going on as well. And people very much appreciate it. One thing I would just add to that is that when you are on book distribution, you mentioned the beggar came. Always remember that you are there to give, right? So things will come. Krishna will give us whatever we need, but we're there to give. So just remember that.
We have some time, I can ask 2 more questions. That's okay with you. So first thing is, if you can give some enlightenment about your Bhakti Moons program, so where you have diversified devotees, so it will also help us. And the second question is the holy name also has the psychological benefits, right? So yeah, in terms of stress reduction, because it lowers the levels of cortisol, and also it shifts the nervous system from fight to flight, right? So any experiences you have gone through, like based on your Krishna consciousness, you can share.
Yes.
Thank you.
So as far as the Bhakti Moons, briefly, the idea with that is kind of a combination of ideas. One is that we are helping devotees in other places. For instance, in Detroit, they have a Rath Yatra every year on Belle Isle, and the Lord Jagannath, he's like 7, he gets bigger every time someone describes him, but I think he's at least 6 foot, 6 or 7 feet. But he is in a parade called Bud Billiken Parade. This parade has, I think, 3 or 4 million people every year watching around the world. It's a famous parade, and whenever the devotees come, they're the highlight of the festival. So that same Lord Jagannath deity comes to Belle Isle. Now the situation is, for whatever reason, the temple doesn't support and actually tries to discourage. But the devotee who's in her late 70s now, she's been doing it for the past 12 years by herself. Very unassuming personality. Just Krishna came in her dream and told her, you have to do this. So part of what the Bhakti Moons does is try to support people like that in different parts of the city or the country. And do that through building websites, whatever, marketing, and just there's an event going on in St. Louis that we were reaching out, trying to help someone do that. And again, on Facebook we have a lot of followers. On YouTube, it hasn't been so active, but we're trying to grow that more. We got about 60 something, I think. So with that is, I just collect stories from devotees. Sometimes it's class, sometimes it's interviews, other times it's let's collect stories from devotees, because we know about the Swami this, the Swami that, but what about the person in the kitchen, who has so many amazing realizations? So we're trying to collect these stories, right? And then I'm building like a database. We have a database, so I'm building one for Srila Bhakti Swami as well, and then one with Srila Prabhupada. And so there's different things that are going on. The main idea is really to just try to spread the holy name and Krishna around the world. And really to try to focus on the Western devotees, but it's become so big. So like I said, we have people, I'm communicating Hindi, Bengali, so all these different languages, AI, so I'm communicating with people like, well, if somebody speaks this language, can you come help out? So I have so many people who are reaching out. And so that's why I said, if you want to come and preach, even if it's in your native tongue, we have an audience for it. So that's there. As far as realization of Krishna reducing stress and different things, there's one story I've shared before. We were in, I want to say we were in Potomac again, or DC, I don't know, they're, I guess, connected, whatever. But we were told, hey, don't go to Harinam here, because it was just myself and one other person. It was a party of 3, but one person was disabled, so when we ever did Harinam, it was just the 2 of us, unless other devotees came. don't go out to this place. Very racist people there. Your life could be in danger, right? It was the, I don't want to give them any advertisement, but there was a group there who was very dangerous, supposedly. Myself and this guy, we didn't care. We weren't afraid of anybody. We might a little bit too reckless. But, so we said, okay, we can't go, we're gonna go. No, you told us not to, we gotta do it. So we go out there, there's a huge art fair going on, and the people, they were a little bit disgruntled, but what can they say, right? We're just doing hard on. Suddenly it started raining, and then the cops came and said, well, you know, these guys are saying that you make it rain and it's ruining their art. And they were looking at us like, yeah, we know, but could you just keep going? So, okay, whatever. So we started going. And then we went a few days, I think it was a weekend, so like, it was either the same day or the next day. Devotees from here actually showed up. It was Russ Majari, a lot of the girls, they showed up. And we met them while we were on Harinam, so we just kind of joined forces, and we're chanting, and suddenly, so going back, when I was younger, teenager, there was one really bad storm. It was like, I think 42 tornadoes hit, all within walking distance from me. And one point I looked outside when this rain stopped, I saw the hole in the cloud, like the eye of the storm, and it was like terrifying. But I was like, I never want to see a tornado. And this particular Harinam, at this place where they thought we start to rain, a tornado came. And the tornado started rolling around, and then we saw everyone, they started screaming and running, and it was like slow motion, like a movie. The tornado's coming down, they're running towards us, and we started chanting the string of days, and we're all smiling and laughing. I'm thinking, why are we smiling? What's wrong with me? Am I in a cult? But we're just enthusiastically chanting, and they're running, and then the tornado starts coming down, and it goes back up. And then people are like, okay, and they started joining the kirtan, like they really think we control the weather now. But hey, they weren't from being hostile to actually joining the kirtan. So, but yeah, that's one of the situations. Anything else?
I just want to add, February 18th, so we don't have a Maha, you know about the program.
I don't know so much about the program, but I understand the kirtan.
We'll announce, but all of the coordinating, there's
April
April 18th.
Yeah.
February.
I was also going April 18th, we're going to have a Mahaharina. This is the 50th ISKCON incorporation. All the temples around the world, they're doing their own way. So this is the first program. Then we here, if weather permits, outside also. So it will be Prasadam, Kirtan. 6 hours. So everybody can tell your friends, colleagues, and then it's going to be here. And then it's going to be John. Just whatever proposing we can experience. So this we can, and also we want to create a Kirtan department going forward. If anybody is interested, they can see me. We're going to make formal Kirtan, and then we do more often. As Prabhu said, Sankirtan is is good enough for us. Okay. How many hands raised, please? How many people want to join the Kirtan party? Wonderful, amazing. I'm looking at everybody. Okay. With that, we will end. Let's do a bigger round of applause.
Everybody has one thing to say?
My mind is packed with many things that you've said which are true. When we first started chanting in Detroit, and people were coming and listening and paying attention to what we were doing, the realization is this: all of the chanting is a manifestation of Lord Chaitanya. People don't understand that. When they see us, they're not really seeing us, they're actually seeing the manifestation of Lord Chaitanya. And because of that, and because Lord Chaitanya is coming to save everyone, it doesn't matter what rascal they may be, because I'm number one rascal. All the other people who don't have any attachment to Krishna, don't like seeing the devotees, when they hear the holy name, it transcends above all of the false ego that is related with this body. Because this body is what's holding us back. The spirit soul, when it hears the holy name, then it knows immediately, this is okay. This is what I'm supposed to be experiencing. And upon that hearing, that changes everything. And as a matter of fact, one example, I remember a young man, his brother was completely and totally invalid. Couldn't do anything. And he was very upset. And I asked him one day, I says, can he eat? And if he can eat, he can take prasadam. If you can take prasadam, that's what will purify you, because the prasadam is not different than Krishna. The chanting is not different than Krishna. So when we understand that, and the association right now of having the devotees here is not different, that's why we say at the end, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, and glories to the assembled devotees, because the assembled devotees are also all part of what Krishna is trying to express to us. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll all stand up for the